This is a Hungarian movie about a woman who returns home to Budapest after a few decades abroad. And it's a story I don't even really want to get into the details of, but let's just say that it's a sort of a love story. It's a very peculiar movie and takes a very unorthodox approach to the subject, and goes for a tone that is almost that of a mystery thriller. It's just very unusual. It plays its cards very close to its chest and doesn't really want to give you too much to go on. As far as where the plot is gonna go is concerned, it just wants to keep the suspense up. And it certainly had me intrigued, and it definitely had me speculating about where it would go. I even had a pretty good idea of where it would go. I was more or less convinced I had it figured out. Mainly because of the fact that it keeps cutting back to the main character having a conversation with another person. And that part just made me think that the story would go a certain way. Well, turns out I was pretty much completely wrong with my ideas of where it would go. I only got one little detail right, and the movie decided to go in a much different direction than I expected. But you know what? I very much liked where it ended up. I kinda loved the ending, actually. It just didn't seem like a movie that would go there, but it did, and it made me happy. But at the same time, it did throw in a little bit of spice there too, with the very last shot. It sort of left things hanging a bit, with some tension and some uncertainty in the air. And that just made me appreciate it even more, and all in all I would say that, well, the very last part, the last few minutes, really elevated the entire movie to another level for me. And sort of made me appreciate the rest of the movie more as well. And had the ending not been as strong as it was, I honestly would have felt relatively lukewarm about the movie as a whole. Not because it's a bad movie in general, it's definitely not, but it just needed that something to bring it all together. Like, a lot of movies are just fun or thrilling and keep you thoroughly entertained throughout. But then the end is just sort of a letdown, but it's fine because most of the movie was still very good. This one though really needed to nail the ending because the entire rest of the movie just depended on it. And had it not figured out how to wrap it up in a satisfying way, it would have fallen flat on its face. But it did, so it didn't. And yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about this one. From a technical perspective, it's a very well-made movie. It just looks great, and I didn't really have any issues with the direction or the editing either. In fact, I would even go as far as to call this a beautifully shot film. It almost has that classic film feel to it. A few times I was even looking at the frame and thought to myself that this could have come from a movie from any point in the last 50 years even. It just looks kind of timeless. Now, in the interest of fairness, I will say that this is not exactly an entertaining or gripping movie in the traditional sense. In fact, I could easily see people finding it boring, but to me it was captivating enough to hold my attention. And as I already pointed out, the way it brought it all together in the end was what made this movie what it is to me. But what is it exactly? Well, it's just a well-made and unique film, and all things considered, I think this one deserves a solid 7. Boop. So, you know, if it sounds interesting to you, you should probably check it out. Or you could also not do that. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic.